Anyway, I built this fancy contraption for Sons of the Forest. I was gonna throw it in there. Ran into a lot of limitations and ended up couldn't get it to load into the game. But in doing like messing with everything, just because I was like, well, I have this thing, I need to do something fun with it, and I had the suspension that was all working and everything. It looks so good. And I had it all put together in Unity, and I was driving around, and in Unity, I could do all the things I wanted to do. Like anything that I could think of, I was like, well, I probably can't do this because you can't do this in this game. But when I wasn't thinking about doing it for a game and just seeing if I could get it to work, the opportunities were just wide open. So one of the things I did is each of these screens had a video playing. I put some in the back here too, if this is the right model, yeah. So these all had videos playing live that were pretty cool. The middle screen would have the backup camera, and it displayed on this screen when you put it in reverse. At first, it was just on all the time. It wasn't really bothering me. It was kind of like having a rear view mirror. But I think I did at one point change it to only activate when it was in reverse. But I don't know. In here, I don't know if I should have just kept it always on. I don't have it now, so I can't see it. I don't think I do. Unless it's deep in one of those drives. This was a digital gauge that I had created here. So when it was turned off, the screens would look like this. They just had like their stationary screens. And then when you started the engine up, it would, and this is just a picture here. I didn't do the actual button because after I had built on this thing for so long, I was like, I got to that point there. It was like one of the last things that I was like, I am just going to throw an image here. I can find offline just so that it says that. It's not going to bother me. And I threw this in here. This inlay I got from, there's someone that made gauges before that I got or downloaded from somewhere. And I just used their inlay and I put my own PSI there and my own boost text. But technically I can't say I made this because I did get this specific inlay from something. It was another thing because I wasn't going to build actual 3D gauge. Now, in Becky, if you've noticed her dash, I built that completely because that's all 3D. It's not pictures. And I wanted to do it in 3D because, like, so this, for instance, on the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 on her RPM gauge, since it's like this, I could make it glow so that it would illuminate without having to, when it's an image, you can't really light it up like that. When you make something glow that's not supposed to, like this, I can probably show you what it would do. Yeah. So like at most you're going to get like this much to be able to still see it, and it's going to look very white, and that's not the way you want to do something. Now you could create a light and have it shine on there, but that has just never looked good for me. I guess it's personal preference, but I have never liked that. So it's crazy. I had to low poly this thing, and so like the Fox shocks and everything got all low polyed at some point because I forgot to separate it. That's why the text is like all deformed. But it didn't matter when I was driving this thing because this thing could cut donuts and man, it could fly. It was amazing. And this was the thing that I had the shifter in first. This is what I first built the shifter for. That would go back. And then you would see this blue handle. Every time it would squeeze in and get let off, I had it do a little flutter like when it let go. So like it was like the spring was in it, and it just, you would really have to see it to understand fully what I'm talking about. But this was a STO I got, and it was just the body. There was no wheels. There might have been welded suspension like this. I can't remember. I do know it was a solid body. So in Blender, I cut it all apart. And for the doors, you ready for this? I had the doors open like this. Actually should have opened both of them at the same time. I don't think I ran the animation for it because I was going to have the script just so they could open up while you were driving. If you wanted to, you know, to cruise like you were cool or something. And so for the back ones, as I've said, I like to do custom things. So it's not always for me how it should be in real life. I wanted to do speakers in these doors, you know, because then it would have really been like, look at me, I'm something. So the coolest thing that I learned though when I was testing this in Unity is I got it to be able to drive into the water, and it had buoyancy on the tires so that they could float and it didn't just sink, and you could drive across the water like you would in real life because there was a river flowing and everything, and it felt like you were at the mud bogs. With fat tires like this, they would definitely be able to float So it was just amazing. And it was at that point I was like, I'm going to have to build a project that I can play in and create videos in to just show some different things, because if I get into doing that more, I can show more of how to do just simple things, well, complicated things that I'll explain it to be simple and tell you just about what you would need to know, I guess. I thought about building an entire game, but I haven't convinced myself that's what I need to do right now. The first thing I need to get is a foundation. Can't build a house without the foundation. There's an Impala. I have a Biscayne that's like that too, but it's an El Camino. Twin charged is a real life thing. If anyone just for a second thought that isn't real, that actually is a real thing. So yeah, there's that. I actually don't know if I did an interior or not. I don't think I had gotten to that point, so it might just be bare. And there was probably one in it when I got the truck. I don't know. Actually, I think there was, because I took it out and was like, I'm going to build something different. Yeah, it just has like the seats in here and a steering wheel. And beautiful looking carpet, it looks like. Is that one of my textures? Oh, it is. That actually does look like carpet. I remember when I put it in here, I didn't think it did, but just then, it was believable. Yeah, I was going to have a functional bed if it needed it, and maybe this be an option to have on or take off. I do think I had to cut the tailgate on this one, but this was already a pretty good looking model, and I don't normally buy very many models unless there's really something I want that I don't want to take all the time in the world making. I'll throw some parts off of something. But before I really show you this truck, let me just say this was the body of the STL was literally a body and nothing else. I mean, it was the shell metal of the solid body, and that was it. So everything you see here and what I've turned this into, I did something kind of crazy with this grill here. So I took it out of a Camaro and then I shaped it to fit in here because I was going to do what it would normally have. And when I was a kid, my grandpa had a truck like this, and it was always sitting in the back field or whatever, back, not ever getting messed with, and I always wanted it. And then they junked that thing, so I didn't ever get to get it. But I was thinking about it one day, and I was like, man, I bet you I could try to make something like that. Yeah, this is the Super Supreme Sancho, because that was the name I come up with at the time. The interior is quite wild. Okay, we have a Trans Am. Actually, that's out of a Camaro Z28 70 model. The Trans Am gauges are pretty similar, though, but not quite. And these are different too, because I changed the color from orange to red, or else you really would have been like, oh, that came out of a Trans Am, but it actually came out of a 70 Camaro. The interiors were pretty similar on the cars back then, but you know, this dash I think came out of it too. I just reworked it to fit in here the way I wanted it to for now. And really, this thing turned into something I didn't expect, you know, because I was literally working with a shell of nothing. No wheels. You see, there's not even axles on this thing. There wasn't no underpiece. I had to get all that. I had to separate the tailgate for this. That I do know I had to do because this was all solid. Oh, I did the hood too. And so, if you know anything about this old Chevy Love, the hood did open like this. The piece is not together. Why? Did I not cut it? Oh, I think I welded it back once I had the motor in, because I was like, once I cut the hood, I just need to... Because I actually cut the hood in this thing, instead of leaving it, that's kind of why there's creases here, because I cut a hole here. So for this contraption here, if this is the one I animated, yeah, so this would move when you hit the throttle here, like it should. And I didn't like how this bar here is, it kind of goes in when it goes down. I kept reworking the everything on it, and it just kept kind of going like that. So I just made it go to that right there, and then I set these in here to, when it got to that part, to be like their open thing, so that it kind of all goes like vroom, vroom, vroom type thing. Yeah, I thought it was cool. And then on these fender panels on the front here, I just took a square and flattened it and put some bolts that I had off of something in the corners, and then this is just a cylinder that I cut into chrome and chromed it and shaped it to like kind of like a tip, but it was just a piece of pipe, or it was just a cylinder. And I put farm truck on it because I thought this was gonna be what I threw into Farm Sim when I got back to do videos, but it turned out to be the Yukon. I built this and then I built the Yukon. So that kind of like how the builds went there. And before this or that or the other truck that I showed, I built the Super Snake. I built it out of this truck, I think right here, which everyone's kind of familiar with, the Ford. Probably this model too, if anyone's like used it. I wanted the lights in I wanted the year model, the one that has the blinkers up here instead of down here, but here it is. I know you've seen it on my background screen before. Look at those fat nasties on the back of this thing. Let me get my camera here. There we go. It's so weird of an angle when it first gets in. I don't know why. So this is something you would really have to see. Like, you can't see it in a picture and kind of get it, because this doesn't really go with it. If you're looking at it in a picture, you're like, I don't think that bumper really works. Then you realize it's a Super Snake. Then you realize I have these snake eyes I hid in the grills back here that would light up. And you realize the Shelby also lights up in the grill. If you saw the picture and the halos, the bumper came off of the Super Snake truck, the actual Shelby Super Snake truck. And I flattened it out to fit up in here as best I could, without really forge this a little better to make it, something better than what it is right now. But once I got it to this stage, I was like, I can live with that. So we'll do a little fly around so you can see it better. I used the mirrors off of the Super Snake truck. Definitely had to throw the interior out of it in here. I mean, and with these stairwells that I've been using, it's like, it looks like a spaceship, man. Or like a super F1 car or something, Super F1. I said it. And so for these, I was going to clear it to where you would run your slider around and it looked legit, I put that there for fun. I just took a blue and I typed no signal check connection and put a shader over it so it looks like, it's not connected right now. I used its taillights. I actually may have used its wheels, I think. And I widened the back ones and slimmed up the front ones a little bit. And I put a little deal back here, the 1 of 1. Interesting in the bed as well. I got the wood going in there. I wanted the best of both worlds. That's kind of like what I've been building more recently. It's taking the ode and putting new life in it, And this, you would never do, in a game. You're not going to really be flying through this exhaust. I guess you could. If you had some cool graphics going with it or whatever. I don't know why. That'd be like a cutscene thing, I guess, maybe. I can't really tell you about the suspension and everything, because I think it's just thrown together chunks of stuff. The shifter here, I took a 3D model of the Cobra of something. I can't remember. There's a Cobra in a pot or something, but I cut it off of that and then I stuck it on here so that it would be, I don't know why its origin is not right anymore. Let me just fix that quickly. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be functional. So get on down there so that when I rotate you do the things. So, you would shift it like you would a normal shifter. Origin's a little off there because I just quickly did it. But I replaced these where these actually would light up when it goes to the different gears, as you would want it to. So like I said, if you're using images, you're not going to get that effect. You need it to be like realistic. So you could use an image and then create small little planes. So like, it doesn't have to be the 3D thing like this. I mean, this is so skinny you can't even really tell that it was a cube or a block. It kind of looks like a plane. It might have used a plane. But you could use a plane like this, a little bitty, and make it glow, Simple stuff, man. Simple stuff. It looks complicated. but it's not. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it and how much work you're really willing to put into something. Under the hood, I don't think there's anything too fancy. I actually can't remember what I did. I may have put the engine in it. I took the scoops off because I put the scoops on it because I felt like it needed. Like without them, it wasn't really giving me the whole Super Snake vibe. So I had to throw the hood in there and yeah, the motor. So this is just like a mock-up of whatever globs of stuff. It isn't really for showing off or anything. That was before I got into really doing details on engines. But if the hood is never open, it doesn't really matter as long as it has something in there, you know? It has these fans that would be spinning here, so you would see them turning. It was supposed to have, or maybe I hadn't gotten to it, but it was supposed to have the black fill pieces for the wheel wells there. However, I don't feel like this is I mean, of course it's something you could throw in Farm Sim, and you could have the bed be functional and everything. I don't like the way these are looking, but it's fine for now. We're just looking at it. I'm not trying to keep modifying things. Take even longer than what it's taken to show this stuff off a little bit. Not really show it off, but like just kind of show it to someone other than myself. You know? I think it's kind of cool. Other people may hate this and be like, that you ruined that truck, bro. Yeah. But technically the truck wasn't doing anything, you know? It needed just a little upgrade. And so, like, who hasn't thought? I mean, maybe no one has really put thought in it. Like, let me put a modern interior in the old truck like this. Listen, if you had a big enough machine that could print out plastics of the dash like they print out in real life for cars, however they make them, you could have it scaled down to fit like this and everything. I mean, you could do it. It could be done. I've proven it here. It could be done. Now, I don't think you would take the actual dash out of a Super Snake truck and expect it to fit. You're going to need to do a lot of cutting and molding and things like that if you're going to do it that way, you know, which it's a way you could do it. Just, I didn't have to use any power tools with this. I just had to use my power mind. Which sometimes seems like it works harder than when I'm doing manual stuff. I don't know, I guess it's a, what you call it, a mental thing. Mentally, my brain is overworked, but when it's not, it's like bored, you know? And this, I just downloaded it. I think I bought it and downloaded it because I wanted to see how someone did a Can-Am four-wheeler. So I was just looking at it. I have no plans for it. It's just, it's here. And if I ever want to add a four-wheeler in something, I'll at least have this to work with. I'll probably go with something else. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes with everything. I never just get something and then I'm like, I'm going to make this one work the way it is. I can't do it. I just can't. We did it with that Hummer kind of, but you saw how that went. There's a reason I don't do things thrown together like that without knowing the scale of every little detail. These were from my old computer, and I used to know what all this stuff was. I never even got to get, I don't know if there's nothing in here. Well, I do have a tungsten. I guess it's not there. Let me correct myself. I had a tungsten. I don't even think those are out yet for the public. In real life, I'm talking. I guess I need to clarify when I'm talking about something in real life. Where is the RAM charger? It is actually what set everything into motion, and I don't even have, this isn't it. Anyway, I had a bunch of models that I can't even show now, so it looks like I don't have anything anymore. I technically don't have nothing near as what I had before. Where is this at? Hold on, is it because this is, I'm actually confused. No, where is that? Where is this for real? Because I spent some time on this thing. I was about to be so mad if this thing was gone. Oh yeah, I threw the new EV Hummer dash in this. Oh, that's so funny that I just happened to have done that. I wasn't even thinking about that when I was looking for the truck. I wanted to do something completely insane on this truck because these trucks, like I mentioned on the other ones, that other truck, they all have that work truck look. So I was like, if it's going to have a work truck look, I'm going to give it the rugged GMC Hummer. Now, GMC and Chevy are pretty close, you know. Chevy made GMC, but GMC is the more luxury side of Chevrolet. So GMC is a Chevrolet. I used to think, no, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't correct me. I don't care if I'm wrong. General Made Chevy is what I was pretty sure that it used to stand for when I was a kid. Okay, so if I was wrong as a kid, I was wrong. It's not a big deal. Anyway, when you first saw that I put the GMC Hummer interior in here and you were like, that is like putting a Ferrari and a Porsche together. No, it's not. Okay, because these are made by the same company. I guess you would say. I don't even know. I don't know what you would call them. There's a word for it, but I'm too tired to think of the word. Regardless, okay, I made this kind of look a little luxurious in here. Was the whole idea. However, if you look at the size of everything here, this would never work in Farm Sim like this. And I hadn't even finished building this truck, but the idea, so I know you see this bone here and you're like, oh, there's something there. I wanted this thing to be able to do what it should do, right? So it would slide and go down so that you could load your car up on it. And then we just get my timeline out here so I can rewind it back, because I made the animation go play like that and then it would just play in reverse. There was no sense in me continuing the animation from here back when it can simply just go back like that, you know? Simple script can do what I'm telling it or what I'm doing with my hand here. You just need to add some sound effects. And I wanted to even get the levers to work. Now, I've never worked a tow truck or anything, so I don't know why there's so many of these. If two of them go at the same time or something, it's like one raises it up, one slides it back, one tilts it or something. Something like that. I just left this here to be like its thing. So if you know all about tow trucks and you hate me for it, you can just hate me for it, because I did this for game purposes. And in a game, this would be functional. So you would drive it up there. There would be a way to strap it down, kind of like, I guess, the Farm Sim has its tow straps. They don't even call them tow straps in there. They call them tension straps. These wheels, I think I got with the model, and then I just threw some custom tires on them and stretched them way out. But here's the story. So I put this red line on it. The first thing I did this on was an EV car, and it would light up, okay? Because it was supposed to be a high-tech thing. Well, since it was a red line, I called them red line tires. And I didn't link this to the Hot Wheels thing or anything like that, so I wasn't even thinking that in my mind. And then not long ago, I was playing Forza Horizon, and I was doing the whole little Hot Wheel thing on there, because I hadn't played a racing game like that in a good minute. And I heard the girl talking in there, and she talked about red line tires or something. I think she mentioned it. Something was said, and then it was in my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. I made something like that, and I didn't even connect it to her. I wouldn't have named it that. When I started getting into the Unreal to look at it, I didn't know there was a thing for the vehicles called Chaos something. I was like, oh man, I don't think I can build in Unreal because of that. Because I could. I just don't need to use whatever that thing was, whatever it did. I didn't look at it, but I seen that was the thing that most people were using. Darn. It didn't feel right for me. So unfortunately, I can't go with Unreal. And the only reason I wanted to even look at Unreal Engine, okay, is because, visually, everyone says it's the better engine for things. And I think there's an option where you can do scripts, or you can do what they have, blueprints. Now, I was doing scripts, so when I went into the Unreal, I was like, let me try out these blueprints. Many years ago, I used to build this game where you would use they wouldn't call it blueprints, but it were nodes, and you had the thing that you put the stuff on, and you drew the lines to it and plugged it in. Kind of like the game Dreams, if anyone's ever played the PS4 version of Dreams that had the nodes and everything you would connect the lines to. There was something like that, and I just realized I put the Chaos toes Chaos toes. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. It's surprising to me because I spent countless hours on this truck. I know it doesn't look like much to most people. Probably they're like, there's nothing there for this to count that many hours. But man, working it out for the size and everything that I wanted it to look like. If you've ever been in one next to one of them big trucks that are like this, that's not the tow truck one, but the tall one. That was the whole thing I was going to go for at first. And then I was like, I seen this model that someone was selling that had this version of the bed on it and everything. And I was like, oh, I could do it. What I'm going to do with that truck. And it looks better than the one I was going to go with before. Because I had an older one version of this truck with a regular dually bed. That was like the 6500 or 5500, whatever it was called. Anyway, I was going to deck that thing out, and then I was like, wait a second, what if I did it with a more modern look on the front? So that's how I got to this. I actually think this truck did have the work interior in it, so it did have interior. I'll call it a work truck because that's what it looks like. And I know this is supposed to be a work truck, but this is supposed to be like the person that has the work truck that got like their business got so good, or they were doing so well financially with their business that they upgraded to something more classy, that could still do the work. That was kind of the idea behind this. I've noticed there's always a story behind some of my builds. And I just am now realizing that as I'm saying it out loud. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but I guess it kind of gives a backstory on the builds. I can't remember who made the go-kart thing, but this was a model I got off of something and was customizing it, but I never did anything with it. I put the steering wheel in it, I changed some colors here and there, and it actually still... I didn't remove the person's name completely. I did on one side. I didn't even notice it at first when I was putting this here. I was doing the Hella Built something. Hella Built... Wait, is that a misprint? What the heck? I don't know what I... No, it can't be. There was... No, I am known for mistyping and misspelling things a lot, but because my fingers work faster than my mind sometimes. I know I didn't delete... Oh, wait, that's their name. It's engraved in here. I don't even know if that's their name. It says MK Racing. I feel like it had something to do with the person that was either what they were going for when they were building it, or maybe their racing thing. I don't really know. But I mistakenly, or not even on purpose, I didn't realize there was something here. So I put that plate there, and then I was going to do one on this side, and then that's when I realized there were names, and I was like, oh. I don't like to hide other people's work, If it's there and I'm using it, I want it to be shown. I'm not trying to claim the credit for things I didn't do. But yeah, I just wrapped it in some carbon, shined it up, and did the steering wheel. Now, I can claim this 100%. There's a lot of things on stuff, but not on this. So for the steering, that's why I wanted it. I wanted to work out how to do steering. This is something else I'm going to probably have to... Actually, you know what? It could already be linked. I was going to just try to test out how you would do steering in Blender. Oh, now it was playing the animation. Anyway, it was animated, but it was also hooked up to where if you turned, I think, the steering wheel... I really need to see this freaking timeline because I'm not understanding why it keeps playing like a loop. I was supposed to have it set up to where when I steered the steering wheel, though, it would rotate those because everything was connected. Now it's not playing like it was a while ago. I don't know. I had it working. It kind of looked like the steering wheel was getting sideways there for a second. I think that's just kind of how I did it. So I could only go so far because you see the parts are coming apart there if you turn too far. So that's why I did the timeline. And it's like a very limited turn so that you could still see they kind of barely move. But if you're driving this thing, you would not really notice that too much. That they move because they move just the right amount. It was hard for me to try to do that by hand. But I got it right at the perfect thing. And it wouldn't limit the steering because the way I was going to do the steering, it was still going to turn like if it could turn the full turn like it should, But also it was going to hit the fenders, I noticed, and I was like, well, it doesn't need a lot of turning there anyway. So I tried to get it right at the edge of that. Anyway, that was kind of the little thing I did there. I don't see anything that really tells you what I did. And I actually don't see these numbers lit up or anything when I click it, but somehow whatever I did is you set this up in the timeline, I think, to where these are connected. Okay, that's at least pink there. So that, oh, and these. And this was the driver of these two joint things or whatever that would do it. You know, maybe you know that. I'm sure there are detailed videos. Had I been recording it when I was doing it, it would have made more sense. But somehow, because it's not in the timeline, it's actually in something else that looks like the timeline, but it's not. Is it in this? I don't know. And I don't want to take the time to look for it right now. I have more stuff I gotta do. There's a way to do it. Ask the internet. Ask something. Ask someone. Something knows somewhere. And there may be a better way to do it. That was just what I got working. The RAM charger would have been a very early build. I know the Anthem is it, but it's a version. It's a version of it. It's not. Oh, and these aren't even. Man, it's like it's all gone because these are just texture stuff. There might have been some parts, or there used to be parts in here, but not even that now. That's so unfortunate, man. I don't understand because it's in the same drive. I have this drive. I don't know why that would have gotten deleted. I kind of knew I was going to probably lose a bunch of stuff, but not as much as I ended up losing. The more I mess with things, I see all the stuff I don't have anymore. So on my earlier videos where I was doing the Wander and whatever the side-by-side was, from that point till now, I've gained a lot of knowledge in Blender, especially because I didn't know anything about Blender. I wasn't lying then. I'd be lying if I said that now if I didn't know anything. I don't know anything because I do know more than I knew. But that was just from spending some time in it for a little bit. I started to try to put everything into this new folder here that I was going to be working with. And I already showed some of these cars, so that's, I don't know, there was a bunch of cars, man, that I don't have anymore. There used to be another folder that was like this one, but you can kind of see some of the things these were early stuff that I was looking at other people's builds to kind of see how things got put together. Now, this was one of the early ones that I started on that turned into that truck that you've seen. This was probably that Denali truck I said I had that I could turn the wheels, or I could make it do the crab walk thing. I think it is that body. Yeah. What the heck was I doing here? I just see that and I'm like, it needs a modifier. It has one? There. Wait, this was made on a newer version of Blender? Dang, how old is 4.0? Because I think when I started with Blender, it wasn't even, I think it was 3 point something. And I would have thought this would have been around that time. I don't think this has any interior, but if you know anything about what I've been doing, that's not an issue for me. Yeah, it has like the dummy play set in there. I see a lot of people that are selling models and they have that as the interior. And it makes me wonder, how did you build your model? That you have it looking pretty decent on the outside, but you refused to include the interior, or you didn't make it. One of the two. And then I've seen some people that say you can get the full interior if you pay $1,400 for it or something. And I'm like, who are they selling that to? Because anyone that works at a game studio, they don't need to buy that. They have people there that can design that stuff. And these days you can scan something and have it turn it into a 3D model without building every inch of everything, or you can follow a blueprint, do it the old-fashioned way. I mean, people think at a certain point, if you're gonna make Cybertruck, for instance, other people make a Cybertruck, the person that built it is definitely gonna know if you're using their model or not. They would know a detail that you just don't see. And I could have this Cybertruck next to a Cybertruck that someone else made, and there'd be clear differences, but just looking at this, you know it's a Cybertruck. And if you were looking at their model, you would know it was a Cybertruck. You know, side by side is when you would see the differences. So the first electric car I put in Farming Sim 25 was the Cybertruck, but that was when I wasn't recording videos at the time because I was having to learn a lot of new stuff. Then I was doing this as well, and I was going to get a good decent collection up because I kind of left off with that side by side, like what I was going to do with that little John Deere thing. And then I was like, I need to dream bigger. Okay, so I didn't make this model. I got it from actually Blender, the Blender store, I think. And I created a windshield if it didn't have one or whatever. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. So in Farming Sim, I don't think it had the interior there. It was, I think I just did a different color in there. Like it was probably all silver or something, okay? But I'll leave it in there for now. I had the giant windows on the side and a giant window in the middle here, which actually there is glass. But it was all see-through, so I need to leave it open for this. And I put some, the person, there. I got rid of the steering wheel. Actually, let me just make it invisible before I delete something that I'm like. The person, the AI driver would stand in this, okay, and they would like lean forward or back, it kind of looked like, to drive it. And so they were just going around working on the farm, pulling a plow behind it with them standing in there. And it looked so crazy. And I was like, this is exactly how I want my whole Mars to begin, like on the playthrough when I was going to start doing videos for it. I was going to have like some of them going by in the background as I started an intro. I was already thinking of that before I even finished building the Mars, just because I had this and I could see them in there, and I was already like, I could see the possibilities. But you know, that went out the window because we lost Mars and we lost all the models that I had built up. This kind of wheel, this is the wheel. It had wheels like this on it that were like, you know, futuristic looking, and it was just perfect, man. Oh, if I would have been... I don't know why I didn't record that. That should have been recorded. I think I was just mind blown by the whole... how awesome it was looking. We're going to have to cut it off now, and I got to get some stuff together before I really start pumping out some new videos, so it might be a minute, but at least there was something you could gander at for a second. Until next time, adios.